Father's Day, we want to take a minute to recognize the dads. If I'd been thinking about it a little bit more clearly, we would have done this during announcements, so my little helpers were still here. But that's okay. I have teenagers, and they'll help me. Right up front here, dads, if we could have you all stand. Teenagers, if you'll come help hand out presents, all the dads. One of the biggest jobs, I think, for a dad is to provide guidance and direction. And that's what a flashlight does. It helps you find your way in the dark, see things as they truly are. And I think that's one of the biggest jobs for our dads. So let's give our dads a round of applause today. Appreciate you a great deal, man. Everybody get one? All right, you may be seated, fellas. Thank you. I usually like to do that with the little kids for two reasons. Number one, they really enjoy it. But number two, it is very important for them to see that it is important to honor and respect older gentlemen who have such a great influence in our life. So I'll make a mental note to myself to do that from now on when we do the announcements. I didn't think of it until all the kids started leaving around. It's like, there goes your head. They left so willingly. Father's Day is an important day. Mother's Day is an important day. It's hard to think of two folks who probably have more influence in your life than your mom and dad. And I was trying to figure out what to study, and I looked at about, 25 different passages. Trying to think of what I wanted to challenge you with today. And looking at the 25 different passages, instead of using the rifle approach, we're going to use the shotgun approach today. Because there's just so much really to being a dad. And I want to start with a favorite quote of mine: an investment in a life is a lifetime investment. And that's true for two different reasons. If you're going to have a large investment in someone's life, it takes a while. It might take your lifetime. But the other side of the coin is, when you invest in a life, it is an investment that lasts a lifetime. And so there are a lot of things in this world that you can invest your life in. But how many of them have lifetime results? Because there are so many things in this world that are fleeting and just really not worth our time. Now let's bow for a word of prayer, and then we're going to start in Hebrews chapter 10 this morning. Father, thank you for fathers. Thank you that you are the greatest father ever. That you know how to give good gifts to your children. That you watch over us, protect us, correct us when we need it, guide us, direct us, and love us with a selfless love that is so difficult to understand. The kind of selfless love that would send your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to the cross of Calvary to do for me what I cannot do for myself. Help us emulate you, and help us to be invested in the lives of our kids. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want to talk about three main words today, and then a conclusion. And the first word is provoke. Provoke. Oh, wait a second. Almost forgot. Next Sunday morning, after the morning service, I'd like to have a meeting with anybody that is interested in special music. I'd like to get a little bit more special music going up, get a sign-up sheet around, set up a time where we can get some things done. We've got a lot going on today with our meal and Vacation Bible School, so we will do that next Sunday, all right? So think about that and prepare for that. Provoke. You say, well, usually when you think about the word provoke, you don't think good things. A lot of times when you think about provoking someone, you think about, somebody doing something, you pick up a pen and click it. And for a while you ignore the noise, and then, You know, a little while there, it starts to grate on you, and after about 5 minutes of hearing the pen click, 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 you're ready to kill somebody, right? You have provoked someone. But provoking can be a good thing, and we're going to very quickly look at 3 instances. 2 of them are good, and 1 of them is not. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24, and I know this isn't specifically to dads, but it's very important. And let us consider one another to provoke and to love and good works. Now listen, if God thought it was important enough to tell the church they ought to be provoking one another to love and to good works, how much more, Dad, should we be provoking our children? And he gives us 2 things here. The first one is love. And when God talks about love, he is always talking about 1 Corinthians 13 type of godly love. He's never talking about all the ways that the world manipulates it and all the things that it does to pervert it. He is always talking about a 1 Corinthians 13 self-sacrificing love. That is the only love that God the Father knows. And it's the only love with which he acts. Talking about respect for others. Talking about respect for authority. If you love someone, you will respect them and you will treat them properly. Proper relationships. Sounds easy on the outside. But it's not always easy to teach young people to have proper relationships with each other. Not just from a purity standpoint, but relationships that mutually benefit and encourage each other, and both people are better off for having spent time with each other. It's a difficult thing to do. A lot of kids nowadays do not have very good relationships. They joke about things, but they never talk about anything valuable. They never really push each other to be better, and they don't often promote things that are good and righteous and holy. Teach your kids to have proper boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Teach them how to have friends. True friends don't mind rebuking and exhorting and encouraging and correcting each other. And they allow that from their friends. It's a proper relationship. Teach them what family ought to be. And how you respect each other in family. And how you talk to each other in family. And how you treat each other in family. And how you sacrifice for each other in family. Teach them how to be a good co-worker. Teach them how to be a good church member. And teach them to value lost people. Because lost people are dying and spending eternity in hell. And if you don't care about them, if you don't love them the way God loves them, they're gone forever. He also says, provoke them to love and to good works. Now, good works is 2 different words that are smashed together. Good means valuable, virtuous, honest, or worthy. And we gave you a flashlight this morning, and the more I thought about it, well, when you walk through a room, if you can't see very well, you are bumping into all kinds of things, and it causes danger and damage to your big toe or your pinky toe or your kneecap or whatever as you run into something. Light helps you to navigate. It helps you to see things for what they really are. Is the pathway clear, or is there an obstacle there? And is it a squishy obstacle? Is it a hard obstacle? Is it what I'm looking for? Fathers, it is so important that we teach folks what is good. Is there a virtue in that? The world is so busy today, but a lot of times it's busy with things that have no value, no virtue. There's no substance to it. How would you feel if at the end of your life you looked at the lives of your kids or your grandkids and you felt that they were not valuable or virtuous or honest or worthy? They wasted their life. And then the last word, good works, means toil, labor. Teach them the value of toil and labor for things that are virtuous and honest and worthy. Next verse I want to take you to, well, you can turn there if you want to, Ephesians 6:4. Familiar verse to us. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. In other words, do not frustrate your children. Instead of frustrating them, nurture and admonish them. Now, we tend to think that nurture means to hover over like a mother hen. That is not necessarily the picture here. The word nurture, it means chastening and instruction. So it doesn't necessarily mean sheltering your child from everything that comes along. That is not a realistic view of the world if you're going to shelter your children from everything that comes along. It means to chasten. You have to correct. You are not popular when you correct your child. You're not popular with the child. Sometimes you're not popular with the folks that are around you. Nevertheless, it is the right thing to do. Instruction. We don't like to read instructions sometimes. Sometimes you put the whole bike together, and then when you got extra parts or when something doesn't seem to work right, you go back and you get out the instructions. Oh man, on step 3 I was supposed to, so you take apart 47 steps to fix step 3. But you can't do that with your kids. Because if you skip something in step 2 or step 3 or step 4, when they're 47 years old, you can't go back and correct what was, right? So it's a very important word. Admonition means mild rebuke or warning. Now, I had a friend in Ohio who used to say, it's always easier to deal with things when they're small. It's true, right? Think of a forest fire. If you were driving down the road and you saw someone throw something out the window and it starts a small fire and you are trying to put out a little bitty fire this big, not even campfire size, you have a lot less job trying to put that fire out and contain it than if you stood there for an hour or 2 and watched the whole woods catch on fire. Once you have a forest fire, there's a whole lot more resources, there's a whole lot more effort, and there's a whole lot more damage. This word is so important, dads, because it says if we're paying attention to our kids, then we can catch things when they're small and deal with them in that way. Go to Romans chapter 11. Romans chapter 11. Provoke them to love and good works. Do not frustrate them, but nurture and admonish them. And then in Romans chapter 11, verse 14. Paul says, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Now, this is a very interesting term because he is using this in a good way. What he is saying here is, I am trying to stimulate. The word literally means to excite to rivalry. Now, if you've been involved in sports at all, and you have a rival team, do you have to get everybody cranked up to get ready for a game with a rival? No, they've been looking forward to playing that game the whole time. I mean, they get themselves all worked up. They're ready to go. That's exactly what Paul says. He says, why don't we do that with spiritual things? Why don't we excite folks to rivalry with things that really matter? Why can't we have folks emulate the good qualities of us? I read a pretty interesting statement that said emulation is the highest form of flattery. Think about it for just a second. If someone spends a lot of time trying to be like you, it is because they really value what they see in you. So why not provoke someone to emulate? Or is it because we're scared that they're going to pick up the qualities we don't want them to pick up? Our first word today, provoke. Our second one, prepare. 2 Samuel 1:18. We're going to go through these kind of quickly, but there are some scattered thoughts in here that I would like to share with you this morning that I think are very important. This might seem out of place on Father's Day. No, we're not trying to start a war in Clinchco. But right in the middle of this, it says, also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Asher. And you say, seriously? You're going to teach your kids to fight with a bow? I mean, aren't we supposed to make love, not war? Listen, the point here is practical living. There are times that you need to use a bow. You might need to use a bow for hunting. You might need to use a bow to defend the house. You might need a bow to go to war should the time arise. And there were many times that God called his people to go to war. God's not anti-war, okay? But practical living is a very important thing. Dads, make sure you teach your kids how to fix up the house, how to fix the car, how to pay the bills, balance a checkbook, save money, mow the lawn, good manners, patriotism, how to treat ladies, how to treat gentlemen, what to expect of people, how to be honorable. Practical, Christian living. Psalm 90, verse 10. No, I'm turning you to a lot of passages, but hopefully it'll keep you awake and paying attention better than you do glance. See what it's like, don't you? Psalm 90, verse 12. So teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Young people think they've got their whole life in front of them. They think they're bulletproof. They think that, everything that you try to tell them is 40, 50, 60 years down the road. And sometimes one of the most difficult things that you can get across to a young person is the value of life. All kinds of things in our world today are devaluing life. Abortion's all over the place. That baby could have such and such a disease. That would be inconvenient. Kill them. We don't really want that one. Kill it. We don't want it. People are getting old. They're costing us a lot of money. Kill them. Trust me, it's coming. It's coming. Euthanasia on both sides of it. If you can sell it to the young, then you can sell it about the old too. And that happens when we don't value life. They have not been taught to number their days. You know what the value of a day is? I'll tell you what the value of a day is. It's the only one you're promised. There is no guarantee that you are going to have a tomorrow. So why not teach them the importance of a day? And while you're teaching them the importance of a day, it's an excellent opportunity to teach them what is really valuable. Because if they don't have 1,000 days left, they certainly might want to choose what they spend their time doing. It's important that we prepare them with practical living. And it's important that we prepare them with the value of life and the importance of a day. Go to Job chapter 32. I like the book of Job because it has so much perspective. Job was a very, very wise individual. And he was tested in a way that is difficult for many of us to understand. This is not the part where God starts challenging Job and asking him, where were you when I set up all this incredible stuff in his creation? We're not there yet. This is still the part where Job's in the middle of his trial, and his best friends, who are supposed to have his back and be an encouragement to him, keep coming to him and challenging him with, there has to be sin in your heart, there has to be something that you've done wrong, or God wouldn't be putting you through this. And in the midst of it, one of his friends comes up to him and says, I am young and you are very old. Now that's a good way to start a conversation with somebody who's hurting, right? I'm a young buck and I know that you're really old. Maybe that's why this is happening to you. You're a fossil. Job's response is in verse 7. I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. Do you get what he's telling his friend? You are young and you are immature. Maybe you ought to keep your mouth shut. It's very nicely what he's saying. He's saying, what is the point? It's important that we teach our kids that they are young and they don't know it all. They don't know it all. They think they know it all. Here's the problem. When you are a real youngster, your bubble is like this big. And you think you've conquered your whole bubble, so you're ready to go. That's why little kids are ready to throw a few toys in a backpack and leave the house when they get mad at mom or dad for punishing them, right? Then you get to be a teenager and you're about this big. And now, you're coming on to manhood and you're feeling your independence. And girls, you're fighting with mom because she acts like she knows it all and she just doesn't know how you feel because mom was never a girl like you were. And you get to be about 20-something and your bubble's about this big. But here's the problem. Grandparents, the bubble is this big. And you haven't even seen it all yet. And you're dealing with these young kids and you're dealing with these teenagers who are struggling because they think they do know it all. Hey, listen, I'll pack my bags and I'll go live on my own. That's fine. They don't think about paying an electric bill or paying a water bill or how much it costs to own a car. You know why? That stuff isn't in their bubble. It's simply, listen, you don't know it all. But the other side of the coin is you should never stop learning. I don't care how old you are. One of the things I used to appreciate a great deal about my grandfather, he was always learning. Always learning. My grandfather was a farmer. When it was time to make hay, we made hay. I will never forget the day. Rainstorm is moving in the afternoon, and we're bailing for all we can go. I mean, I thought I was going to kill myself. We pull a wagon up there, and I'm chucking hay off as fast as it can go. Get back out there. Let's get the next load done. And here we come. We come around, and we're fairly close to the house. Grandfather's on the tractor bailing. I'm stacking them. Get as much hay on the wagon as we can. Sweat pouring off of me. I feel like I'm 110 degrees. And all of a sudden, I hear the tractor power down. He shuts it off and runs for the house. And I thought, my goodness. My grandfather must be sick. Put the last few bales away. I jump down off of the wagon. I go up and I open the thing and I said, Grandma, where's Grandpa? Oh, he's in the living room. I said, is he okay? Yeah, he's watching that launch. He's watching the launch. I walk in there and my grandfather is glued to the TV and they're getting ready to send up the Challenger. I said, what are you doing? Watching them launch the space shuttle. 7th or 8th one that they launched. I have not missed one. This is incredible. When I was a boy, you never would have thought we could launch something into space and get it back again. That is absolutely unbelievable. You watch this thing. Think of the power that this thing's taken off. They fire that thing off, and I'm sitting here thinking, there's a storm coming. We got hay on the ground. You know what my grandfather said? He's never too old to learn. As soon as that thing cleared the atmosphere, he shut the TV off and took off for the tractor to run. I'm thinking, no, are you kidding me? And there we go the whole rest of the day. Rain's coming, we gotta hurry. Well, stop and take time to learn. Because you don't know everything, but that doesn't mean that you should ever stop learning. Prepare your kids by helping them. Revelation chapter 2, verse 20. Revelation 2:20. We'll get there in depth later. We're just going to touch on it now. It's one of the letters to the churches, and he says, notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, not the literal Jezebel, okay, talking about the world, which called herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. Prepare them for the dangers of the world. And the dangers of the world listed here are in 2 forms. This is a letter to a pastor of a church, and he says, I have something against you because you allow the world to influence your people more than my word did. And it happened in 2 areas. The first one is fornication. That is a perversion of yourself. You allowed erosion of your values and your standards. You allowed something besides godliness to be forefront in your thinking and in your attitude and in your actions. And the second one is a perversion of worship. They offer things to idols. You allowed the world to tell you what was important, and you allowed to tell it that there were things more important than God. Dads, prepare your kids for the dangers of worldly thinking and worldly values, because it will cause perversion of self and it will cause perversion of worship. And both of them are absolute tragedies in the life of a young person. 2 Timothy chapter 2. I told you we were going to be looking at verse 2. The things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also doctrine. Prepare them with doctrine. I love this word commit. This word commit means to entrust, to deposit, to set before someone and have them consider it deeply. He says, the things that thou hast heard of me, the things you learned from God, the things of the Word, set them before your kids. Commit them to your children. Deposit them with your children, so that they keep them all the days of your life. You say, how do you know if you've done it successfully? The verse tells us. See what it says? Who shall be able to teach others also. Listen, if you teach someone so thoroughly that they understand it so well that they can teach someone else, you know you are successful. They will not struggle implementing it in their own life if they are so involved in trying to implement it in someone else's life. If God's Word and doctrine is so important to a young person that they're trying to teach it to their friends, you don't have to worry whether or not it's going to be a part of their life. It'll be a part of their daily conversation. It'll be a part of all of their decision making because it's in the forefront of their thinking. Are we, dads, depositing God's Word with our young people? Genesis chapter 18. I know I'm hardly giving you time to turn. You can be mad at me when we're eating. Verse 19. Genesis chapter 18, verse 19. Prepare them with the value of a good reputation. This is a situation where God comes down to Abraham and he is getting ready to go down to Sodom and Gomorrah and judge Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's interesting because this is the conversation that God has with himself. Do I reveal what I'm about to do to Abraham or not? And here is the verse that he says. Ready? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. God is getting ready to judge Sodom and Gomorrah. And he says, should I hide this from Abraham or not? And he says, you know what? I'm going to reveal it to him and I'm going to tell him because I know him. Listen, folks know us too. There is a big value to having a good reputation. You could look at it this way, a godly heritage. Thousands of years later, Jewish people are still, we're the sons of who? Abraham. I want to be associated with that family. Do your kids want to be associated with your family? Is there a godly heritage being passed down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation? I used to tell the kids when I was coaching soccer at Wayside, we'd get done after a game, we'd be getting ready to go into a fast food restaurant, and I'd shut the van off and I'd say, wait, nobody gets out. Before you get out of this van, I want to remind you, you carry the name of the Lord with you. You carry the name of this church with you. And you carry the name of your parents with you. Don't you walk into that fast food restaurant and harm either of those three. Every time we got ready to get out of the van, don't you dare. And I can't tell you, I mean, it'd make your heart burst with pride when you're sitting there with a whole bunch of rowdy teenagers and they're eating and they get ready to leave and some old lady or some old man will stop and say, what school are you from? Wayside Christian over in Bucyrus. Wow, those are really well-behaved kids. And you get out in the van and they're tired and they've just played a game and they're dirty and now they've eaten and they're wanting to get home and you start the van up and let the air conditioner kick on if we had one. Sometimes we didn't. And I turn around and I'd say, you know what, gang? It's an older couple in there that came up to me and just gave me one of the best compliments you could ever get as a young person. You carried the name of the Lord well today. And you carried the name of this church well today. And you carried the name of your family well today. Now do it all the rest of the days of your life. Prepare your kids Deuteronomy chapter 4, starting in verse 9. I love this passage. It's probably one of my favorites. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, Gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And he came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire in the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. He heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only you heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that you might do them in the land whither ye go over, possess it. You say, what's the big deal? Teach your kids to keep their soul diligently. That's verse 9. In verse 10, to teach them your personal testimony. How has God worked in your life? What does it mean to you? If God isn't personal to you, you can't expect him to be personal to them. It's just something they do. It's like going to school. And listen, they're professionals that go into school and acting like they're listening to a teacher and not paying a lick of attention to what's going on, and it has no effect on their lives afterwards. Why do you think teaching is such a hard thing to do? In verses 11 and 12, teach them who God is, that they may fear him. In verses 13 and the beginning of verse 14, teach them what he expects. He gave them 10 commandments. You say, well, there's a lot more in the Bible than the 10 commandments. Listen, you get the 10 commandments right, you'll filter down all the other stuff because everything comes from it. If God thought everything else was so important, he'd have given us 25 or 30 commandments. But all the rest of God's word is wrapped up in those 10 commandments. And at the end of verse 14, he says, teach them the value of application and obedience, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Because someday they're going to move out of your house. And they're going to be making their own decisions, and they're going to make their own choices. And you know what? Then comes the real test of how well you've done. Because now you're not standing right there. They come and they ask you for input instead of you forcing input upon them. Have you taught them the value of applying it in obedience? Or is it just something they tolerated, waiting for the day they could get out of your house so they didn't have to go to church or Sunday school or VBS anymore? Provoke. Prepare. Here's our third. Promote. Promote. You like to get a promotion at work? What's that mean when you get a promotion? Somebody recognizes the value of what you're doing. Okay? I had a friend in Ohio that he used to say all the time, you get what you promote. It's true. You get what you promote. So whatever it is you promote, then that's what the kids are listening to, and that's what the kids are hearing, and that's what they think is valuable to you. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 9. So what do you promote? It says, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. This is what you promote. You promote the value of wisdom and learning. Here's the secret. You ready for this? If you teach your young people the value of wisdom and learning, then you will automatically teach them discernment. And discernment is so important. If they realize that God's word is the authority on wisdom, then when the world tries to tell them something, in their mind they're going, no, I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. Lance in Sunday school this morning said one of the important things about evolution is that they believe you have to be continually adding information. Listen, if you value wisdom and learning, when you hear someone say that, your whole body's screaming, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Cancer is a loss of information, right? A mutation is a loss of information. Please tell me something, give me one example anywhere in all of creation where information is freely added by anything. There isn't. What keeps the bat alive while its wing is growing out? It was a rat, it's becoming a bat, its front legs start to sprout into wings. How does it eat? How does it get around? How does it protect itself? How does it move? You look at it. Listen, if you value wisdom and learning and you're thinking this thing through, you're sitting there going, that's pretty dumb. That thing's going to die. You'd have to have something there taking care of it because there's no way it goes through that and lives. Teach the value of wisdom and learning. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Starting in verse 5. Teach them to love God and live godly. Promote it. You have to promote it. They're not going to catch it by accident if it's not important to you. See what it says here in verse 5? And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Listen, if you don't love God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might, how in the world do you expect them to? And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine what? Not head. And thou shalt teach them, what's the word? You can't teach godliness by accident. You can't teach godliness and expect them to just pick up on it. Listen, kids pick up on the bad stuff a whole lot easier than they pick up on the good stuff. My kids pick up on every bad habit I ever had. I mean, slick as can be, right? But if I want to instill a good habit, it seems like I have to hammer away and hammer away and hammer away. And that's exactly right, because it says, teach them diligently. Promote it to your children. Talk of them when you sit in your house and when you wake up and when thou liest and when thou risest up. If godliness isn't a part of your everyday verbiage, if you're not talking about it, if it's not important to you, it's not important to them. Bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. Do you get it? Everywhere you go in your house, everything you do as you move about your daily needs to promote that you love God and that you choose to live godly. Matthew 28:19. Very familiar verse. I'm not even going to turn to it. I'm going to go to Proverbs chapter 22 because that's where we're going to close. But in Matthew 28:19, if you've gotten there, you realize it's what we call the what? The Great Commission. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. Listen, if you want your kids to value what God values, if you want your kids to be wise in winning souls, then you have to promote evangelism. There are people dying and going to hell, and they can do something about it, and you can do something about it, and if you don't do anything about it, then don't expect them to do anything about it. Are you provoking? Are you preparing? Are you promoting? I'll tell you this before we close. You're provoking them to something. You're preparing them for something. And you are promoting something. Everybody does. The question is, what are you? We'll close with praying. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. When you are dealing with children, this is one of the most popular verses used. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Listen, if we're provoking them to godly things, if we are preparing them for godly living, and if we are promoting godly living, then we pray. Because my Bible says it will
that's what your word does, is a lamp unto our